U.S., and as you recall this, 95-0, the U.S. Senate voted against it. When Al Gore was the vice president, it was 95-0 against.
When the inventor of the Internet was vice president.
Yeah, and well, he should have got on the Internet and inveigled some more votes. But the Europeans... The Europeans with Strong and Sir John Houghton, who was the head of the UK Met Office and so on, these people trying to get the Americans on board, said, look, what can we do to make this attractive to you? And the U.S. came back and said, look, give us some credit for the carbon we're taking out of the atmosphere. Because one of the things that you don't hear much about, Alex, is that, we produce about 7.5 gigatons of CO2 a year, but we remove 50% of that through agriculture and forestry.
But I don't like that either. I mean, I've talked to a lot of other climatologists and biologists that have done the studies on plants. Isn't a carbon dioxide rich atmosphere better for overall life cycle, carbon cycle on the planet, and aren't we at a very low point according to the research?
Oh, yeah, we're at 385 parts per million, which is the lowest level in 600 million years. And one of the things that's interesting that confirms this, Sherwood Itso and his son Craig have done an enormous amount of research on putting plants into enriched CO2 atmospheres. And they found that almost all plants function better at between 1,000 and 1,200 parts per million. In other words, 3 times what they currently are getting. So you could legitimately argue that plants are malnourished. But what's more important, Alex, is that if you look at the last 300 million years, the average level of CO2 in the atmosphere has been around 1,000 to 1,200 parts per million. And some commercial operations, greenhouses, are taking advantage of that by pumping that level into their greenhouse and getting 4 times the yield on their plants. So,
but hold on, doctor. It doesn't kill the plants. It's now a toxic nerve gas, the news says. Oh, my God, they breathe it? Stay with us.
The New World Order beast is genetically modifying your food, mixing vegetables with animals, and now experimenting with viruses. Without a long-term food solution, you will have just 2 options: starve, surrender. All canned food supplies will eventually run out. What then? Grow your own healthy food and feed your family forever. SurvivalistSeeds.com is now the nation's largest bulk heirloom seed company, and it's owned by a real patriot, Big John Lipscomb. You can now have an infinite amount of healthy vegetables like a watermelon, a bundle of carrots, or tomatoes for a little more than a penny each. SurvivalistSeeds.com. And now you can go into business with Big John at SurvivalistSeeds.com by becoming an affiliate. See his link at SurvivalistSeeds.com.
You know, I've interviewed a lot of climatologists, a lot of scientists, but I got to say Dr. Ball is the most informed, most on target I've seen. Just absolutely amazing. Dr. Ball, are there any websites people should visit to read all your great writings and research?
Well, there's 2 that I contribute to on a regular basis. One is CanadaFreePress.com. That's all one word. And if they go to, I just had an article in there on Monday. My articles usually appear on Monday. And they have a columnist archive that they can tap into, and there's about 35 articles on there.
Fantastic.
Then, the other site that I contribute to, and the group I helped set up that you mentioned in the promo, was friendsofscience.org.
Absolutely, friendsofscience.org.
Yeah, that one focuses on the science. The Canada Free Press is a mix of the science and the political implications.
Well, I mean, we've proven the scientific case because it's I mean, really elementary, or at least it seems as a layman compared to a lot of other scientific questions. Yeah. I mean, we know plants breathe carbon dioxide, and we know, during the break, you were mentioning world food supply. Maurice Strong also says, and Kissinger says, shut down world food supply, and that's also part of what this whole greenhouse gas tax is about.
Well, yeah, there's no question about that, and you, as I mentioned earlier, with the biofuels, you see how marginal we are, and one of the things that everybody forgets is that, and I've got a quote that I made up a long time ago: there are no farms in the cities, but there's no cities without farms, and if you ignore the agricultural base, that's the base of any economy. And
well, instead, they're taking that over with the animal ID, premises ID from Australia to Canada to the U.S. They are SWAT teaming Amish for selling milk, SWAT teaming egg sellers. I mean, they're really squeezing, and these environmental green brigades are just showing, and I'm not bashing folks with ponytails and Birkenstocks, but now they got sidearms, and they're showing up on farms and ranches and going, look, and they're basically communist.
Yeah. Well, organic is all very nice, and there's a niche market for that. But if we went totally organic, you'd have to cut every forest in the world down to grow the amount of food we're currently producing. And I'm trying to think of the guy, Dennis Avery, a wonderful book called Saving the Planet with Plastics and Pesticides. And he's saying, if they really wanted to save these ecologies and environments they're talking about, we should increase the yields on the land we're currently farming. And we could do that very easily. I mean, we look at the increase of corn yields over the last little while. Now, there are some side effects, no question, but we can monitor those and take care of those. But to just shut it all down is certainly not a solution at all, but that gives you ultimate control, I guess.
Well, the problem is the big agribusinesses own their areas, and they don't leave the land fallow. But you drive around the United States and the world, there's farm areas not being used everywhere.
Well, and that was one of the problems I had with George W. Bush's policies, agricultural policies, where people were buying farms simply to get the government subsidies. It was a better investment than going into the stock market. And that was the fallow land where we were being paid not to grow them, and it's just insanity. And of course, they don't want stockpiling of food at all, because that they lose control that way. But no, I think the agricultural base is a very important part of this, and that's why we talk about paying people to sequester CO2. Well, the farmers are already doing it. Why aren't they getting a subsidy for the 50% of CO2 they're taking out of the atmosphere?
Well, there's some environmental global warming wackos that think trees are producing CO2, and so they're bad. Do 5 more minutes with us, Doc, because I want you to be able to finish your thoughts and where you see this going. You seem to think they're losing steam. Stay with us.
Do you understand how dark it is? How far down the line we are? How late it is?
Very, very exciting. We're going to have Dr. Ball in studio coming up in a few weeks here with us. I want to have him down here to discuss some things with us, and also for a eugenics film. I'm making a population control film after the current one I'm making. So definitely very, very important, very, very exciting. Okay, in closing, I've been throwing in my 2 cents quite a bit here. It seems that they're beginning to stall out. I mean, right as they get victories, right as they pass it in the House and it's going to the Senate, and they may be able to even do that, they're going to have trouble implementing this, because when Nancy Pelosi and others lie and say it's about jobs, even their own white papers admit this is meant to shut down jobs. So where do you see their movement going?
Well, I think there's a couple of things. One I mentioned was that the economy has refocused a lot of the politicians, and of course they're getting word from their constituents. And by the way, one thing I rely on, Alex, is there's a huge well of common sense in the ordinary people. They don't. Popeye said it all when he said, "I don't know how she does it, but she does it." So there's that underlying skepticism amongst the people, and one of the things that I've noticed is with the cooling that's been going on since 2000. Initially they said, "Oh, well, it's just a 1-year anomaly." Now they're saying, "Well, yeah, it's slight cooling, but it's just going to go back to warming again." And then when they were pushed on it, they said, "Well, no, but this cooling's due to warming." That was so illogical that even people that don't understand the science were saying, "Hang on a minute, hold on a minute here," and of course the fact that the cooling trend will continue, we'll see it again this winter. We'll see it with the harvest problems across the U.S. and the world that's going on right now. Canada, we're very, very late with our planting, and seeding's down about 27%.
And that's because of that big yellow thing in the sky. They say it has nothing to do with heat.
Exactly. And And by the way, that's another part of the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. They don't consider the sun as a factor because it's not, humans don't have control of it.
Mm-hmm.
So these sorts of things are making the people start to realize, even though they don't understand, there's a lot of nonsense being sold.
But I mean, I see them on the news saying the sun has nothing to do with it. That is so asinine on its face. I mean, isn't the sun the main driver of temperature?
Totally. You pick up any meteorology or climate textbook, the very first thing they tell you is the source of energy for the atmosphere is the sun. And then these people proceed to ignore it. The analogy I've used, Alex, is like saying my car's not running very well, but I'm not going to look at the engine, which is the sun, and I'm not going to look at the transmission, which is water vapor, the most important greenhouse gas, and I'm going to ignore the differential. I'm going to look at one nut on the right rear wheel, which is CO2. And oh, by the way, I'm only going to look at one thread within that nut, which is the human portion of CO2, and that's how I'm going to resolve the problems with my car. It's that incredibly wrong in scientific terms.